What's up, guys? Alex here. I am here with Dr. Donald and Dr. Ben as well. They will be going over with us on a squat assessment today. The most common things that I see with my clients, I've asked them for a little bit of help, is the overhead squat and some mobility things as well. So they'll explain a little bit more on what we're going to do today. You guys go ahead and take it.
So perfect. So the first fault that we want to go over with the overhead squat is upper body mobility and what's going on there. So what we're going to look at is what happens to a person, what we're looking for. So A, you can assess yourself to see, is this an issue that I should be working on? And then B, what are the common faults? And then C, if you see these faults, what is the next thing you do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a great way to see some functional faults that we have. Maybe we have some questions of why my shoulder hurts when I reach overhead and get cereal out of the cupboard, or why my shoulder hurts when I'm doing a certain lift, something like that, or why my hips hurt. Right? So I think this is a great way to figure out how the body moves and to address the things that are going on with you so you don't have pain grabbing some cereal.
Sweet.
Yep. So we're going to get started, and I'm going to have this magnificent man here demonstrate his overhead squat because he's got a beautiful overhead squat that I am personally jealous of. So let's check this thing out. So first thing that we're going to do is we're going to show you a side view of the squat. So we're going to go right here. With the side view, his arms are going to go straight up overhead. Perfect. So his arms are straight up overhead. Go ahead and face the camera for a second. For the purpose of this squat, we're assessing mobility. This isn't a way that you would actually do an overhead squat if you were loaded. So arms are going to be right here. Can his arms go straight up? Let's go ahead and face that way. A couple things right out the gate of what we're going to look for is, as he brings his arms up, what happens to his head? Does his head jut forward? Good. Come on back. Does he look up? Does he look down? Is there something weird going on right there? Next thing we're going to see is what happens when he brings his arms up overhead. Do we notice a big lordosis or arch in the back? So show what that would look like. He's not able to maintain posture or core control. That could be an issue. So now that he looks dialed in right here, let's go ahead and show what that looks like from the front real quick. One more time. So his arms are straight up overhead. Perfect. Come on back to the side. And now what he's going to do is he's going to go straight down into the squat. Awesome. So as he's doing this, what I'm looking for is there a straight line from basically his finger here to his hip. Can he get parallel? Are his feet still facing straight ahead? And then what happens with his knees? Go ahead and come back up. Perfect. So we're going to do one more of those so that they can all see. He's going to go all the way down. He gets great depth through here, great hip mobility. And then also, you can see right here, we got like a nice straight line if we were to draw that from the top of his finger down. Excellent. So let's show him what that would look like from the front. So we're going to take a look at his feet. Feet are going to go straight ahead. Arms are going to go straight up. He's going to go straight down. And again, we're looking for what happens with the upper body, the head, the neck, are the arms falling forward. Come on back up. That looks great. Let's show a side view. One more time, and this time I want you to show a common fault that you see with this motion. So he's coming down. Boom. As he's coming down, notice he's lost that nice position right here. His arms coming forward. His head has dropped down. Come back up. So at this point, all we're trying to do is there a fault? Do we notice a fault? And then based off that fault, that tells us that we have something going on that he doesn't have the ability to do it. And then the next thing that we're going to do is go into more assessments, because this is going to lead us down the next path of what we want to look at. So why don't you take over and talk about the next thing that we're going to look at?
Perfect. So now, it's like, so now what? Right? So we saw that you kind of bowed. You're the bower, as I call it, the bower. Right? So why is that? So now what? So what we're going to do is we're going to get you on your back, right? Is it because I have some mobility issues here, or maybe the mid-back, or we don't know yet. So let's figure some more stuff out. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to break this out. I'm going to put this lovely mat down for you so you're not... Perfect. So now let's lay on your back. Okay. So this is going to be the dead bug overhead assessment. Okay, so there's a few things that I want you to do to set it up properly. So the first things first, I'm actually going to put this, helps to have something here underneath your back, and this will become more apparent later. But I'm going to slide this underneath your back. Okay, good, perfect. And back down.
I'm going to grab your hat real quick. Perfect.
So first things first, I want you to crush the ground with your low back, right? So crush, crush, crush. You feel the abs turn on? You'll feel the abs turn on because you're not letting that happen, okay? Now what I want you to do, one leg at a time, come up and up in the tabletop position. And this kind of helps keep that low back down into the ground. You feel that, right?
Yeah.
Now this is where this comes in. If you have a partner, just pull here, and if he arched, it'll pull right out. So go ahead and arch, right out, okay? So if you can have a partner, or put a weight down, set up the contraption, and smash, then boom, there you go, okay? But that keeps you from arching the back and crushing the ground with that low back. So now, raise just like this, out in front of you, like a zombie. Good. Now go ahead, thumbs up, and you are going to go overhead as far as you can. So long arms, right? I don't want you to bend the arms to try to cheat. The goal would be, can you get the thumbs to the ground, right? Some common faults that we see to get there are going to be bending the arms, and then also looking like up that way. Yeah, because there's a bit of a mid-back issue, okay? Any other common faults?
Yeah, so the main thing too is, come on back up here, is we're looking for this, they call it a rib flare, right? So go ahead and come down, bring the arms all the way down, and then loosen that arch, like he mentioned early on. This is probably one of the biggest faults we see. And then lastly, depending on the person and how their body is put together, sometimes you may need to put something underneath their head. So
Yep, like a pillow.
if they're laying and they don't have the ability, or you don't have the ability to get your chin completely flat, that's okay. You can take something like this or a small pillow, put it under your head, and now reevaluate the assessment.
Perfect.
Perfect. And does that help?
So,
Oh, that's nice.
that's nice,
Yeah,
right?
like that.
So Alex
Pull this out.
has a beautiful overhead squat for a reason. This is quite easy for him. But let's say, for example's sake, that we found that you cannot get to the ground without rib flaring, right? Well, we're gonna do a couple of different things that can help you with this,
Okay.
okay? So the first thing, I'm gonna do one and then you're gonna do another one.
Yeah,
Let's
sounds
do it
good.
like that,
Yeah.
alternate, handoff. Works out well. So we're going to do the low bear. Should we do that one last, huh? Should do the hardest one last. So let's do the easiest one first. So it's actually going to be the assessment, okay? So let's get you back down into the, what's the word I'm looking for?
Dead bug position.
Dead bug position. So let's go ahead and just get you into the dead bug. Same setup as before, right? $1 million underneath this back. If I can get my hand under there, it's mine, right? Get serious with $1 million, okay? So smash that as hard as you can so you know that isn't going to be popping up on you. And then you're just going to rep that out. There's a couple of things that I want you to think about when you're doing this, guys, is that tension, massively important. That's number one. That's your baby. That's what you're going to maintain no matter what, okay? I want you to pretend, if you got kids, pretend like they're trying to do this to you and you're a statue, right? So tension is key. Now I want you, as you come up and go towards the ground, I want you to get as long as you can with your arms, as long to create more tension, okay? And then once you hit a spot, let's say your spot's here, that's okay. Rep it out. Rep it out. See if you can get a little bit further each rep. And I want you to exhale when you go overhead. Okay, so, and that'll help keep this nice and strong. Perfect. Okay. Good, and relax. And one thing that you can do too, on your last rep, hold at the top position for a good 5-second count.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna.
That's the simplest version.
So I'm gonna add 2 things to that.
Okay.
So one thing that you can do is, for some reason, if this is really challenging or you got a lower body issue and your hip flexors is all you can think about and feel, you can drop the feet down and still maintain this really good position right here. Lastly, if you're not having any shoulder pain or discomfort, I like to grab something to cue so that way he can bring his hands back here and he's gonna try to press his thumbs into these pads right there. Perfect. And then over time, as he does this, we'll be able to move these out and then that range of motion might increase. So one way to add like a cue to help you out. Perfect.
The tension's super important. Guys, remember the tension's super important. You can feel it. You should feel your abdominal almost starting to kind of shake a little bit if you're really pushing that spine down into the ground. If you don't feel that tightness, readjust yourself, reset yourself, take a breather if you need it, and go from there.
Perfect. All right. It's that Bruce Lee tension.
There you go.
The next one, Coach, through it?
Sure. Okay, so the reason that this is called a Sphinx position is, think about like ancient Egypt and that giant cat creature thing. You know what I'm talking about, cat creature thing? It's a Sphinx. So he's in the Sphinx position right here. Notice how he's sitting all the way back on it in this position. The reason that he's back here is this motion is to try to increase mobility into the mid-back. So a lot of times we fall or we have issues with bringing our arms overhead because we don't have enough mobility through the thoracic spine. So from here he sits all the way back. When he gets all the way back here, what this does is it locks the low back down. As we get the low back completely locked down, we're going to focus on the motion coming through here.
So notice how easy it is for me to do this in this position, and if I try to do that in this position, it's like
not a lot's going on.
Really hard to do.
Yep. The next thing what we're going to do is you're going to get the hands pretty close to the knee. And we're going to go through the first Sphinx. So you're going to put one hand behind the shoulder and we're going to rotate up. Excellent. So he's got pretty good mid-back mobility, this guy. One of the most important things here, again, is if I were to put this stick right here, he is not going to move into it, right? So all the motion is here. He's rotating around that. So I want you to imagine that there is a laser right here, and if you touch this laser, it is going to chop off whatever part of your body touches it. Yeah. Boom. Just like that. So if you have any shoulder problems, that's okay. You can continue to work the mid-back. We get into like the Pledge of Allegiance position. You put your hand over your chest here. Perfect. And then we are going to still rotate up. Same rules apply. Yeah, as he's pivoting right here, we're getting rotation, and this is the area that we're trying to work. Notice how the low back right here is essentially locked into place, right? We're getting very little motion here, and all the motion's up through here. As we increase mobility through the mid-back, a lot of times that can help a shoulder problem and get that full range of motion. Excellent. So those are the Sphinx and the modified Sphinx.
Yep. And what helps me too is with the post hand, I'm actually driving into the ground and helping by like doing this into the ground. So like I'm basically prying my chest open, right? And like he said before, you don't want to lean, and this kind of helps the lean too. Like I'm pushing this way to open up that way.
Yeah, and as he's doing this right now, this is actually really good mobility. This is what we're looking for. Show them what it might look like the first time they're doing it. Yeah, it might look really limited. That's okay, because you're going to be working your body in positions that you're really not used to, and it'll start to get better over time. The key is, again, not flaring this rib. Show that. That's really, really common when people are trying to do these thoracic spine.
But I got so much range of motion.
You do, but
not the right range.
Not the right range of motion. You got range of motion through an area, you know.
The problem area, most likely.
Not here. So, and the reason that happens is if we get locked up in one area, the areas above and below tend to take the brunt of the work. So we get more rotation through the low back, we can have pain there. We get excessive motion in the shoulders, sometimes we have pain there, or pain in the neck, all because the thoracic spine isn't mobile.
The most difficult or the hardest level one is the low bear to like a modified down dog. This is really going to open up, again, this mid-back area, and muscle-wise, these big old wings he's got on the side called the lats, okay? So, you're going to start in hands and knees, hands directly beneath the shoulders, knees directly beneath the hips, and starting position here is key, right? We don't want you to be cranking on your neck. This isn't a neck exercise, it's mid-back exercise. So get long with the neck. This should be one straight line, and then you're gonna hover off the ground, just so I can fit a Hot Wheel underneath. Good, like a Corvette, not like a big old truck. Okay. Now we're gonna go into that modified down dog. So it's almost like you're pushing yourself into like a squat position, right? And he's pushing the ground that way, like he's trying to push this mat away from him. So it really opens up the lats and really gets to that mid back. He's trying to touch his chest down into the ground. Good. Do some reps of that. And the reps don't need to be at a certain speed, just whatever's right for you. And don't force your range of motion. So show them what a range of motion may look like at the very beginning. It may be something like that, and that's okay, right? Again, a fault we don't want you to have is like a really, really archy back. Show them that. Or you think you're getting most of that, exactly that. We don't want that, right? We want this to be on, just like we were protecting that $1 million in the assessment, okay? So go ahead, start.
It shouldn't look like a twerk.
Yeah, exactly. You should be twerking down there. That's a good twerk, though. Some people get paid money for that. Okay, now pop back that. Perfect. Just like that. In this position, keep this long neck here because, again, we don't want the cranking of the neck. That's putting all the stuff here when we need it here. Okay? Good, and relax. Perfect. Anything you want to add to that one?
No, that feels good. I would say like one of the key things here is when you're in this position is dropping that chest, right?
Yeah.
So I like to imagine that there's someone in front of me on that wall and I've got my Superman logo because I'm basically Superman and I want to show it to them.
Perfect. Yeah. That's huge.
So I'm here and this is subtle. Might not even look like much, but I'm going from here to here.
Yes. So it's like he's prying his chest open.
Yeah.
Like,
and then I'll feel that mid back, which is shaped like this, do this.
yes.
Right?
Yep.
That's what we're looking for.
Very subtle, but very important. That's the difference of you bowing like this or staying upright in the squat.
So let's show a regress version of that. So that can be a really challenging exercise for a lot of reasons. For one, you might not be familiar with the low bear position.
Correct. And it requires a lot, like you're out of breath, right? And it's for a reason. It's because it's a whole body exercise.
Yeah,
right?
and I'm also out of shape, so there's that.
You're so hard on yourself. Okay, so this is gonna regress, but it's gonna take the core work out of it, but we're still gonna get the mobility we need to get our hands overhead in the squat position. So this works really, really well. So let's start on the hands and knees, okay? And what I like to do, I like to go wide. I like to just more comfortable for my hips. So play with it, right? So he's wide there. It may be more comfortable for you to go narrow. For a lot of people, wide is actually more comfortable. So I like to start out wide and then work your way in if it's not as comfortable, okay? So now you're gonna walk your hands. They were directly underneath the shoulders, right? Now you're gonna walk your hands a little further because you're gonna need a little bit more room. And then all you do, same motion, right, is push yourself back. This looks like a child's pose, but the difference here is a child's pose, often you have a round back here, and we're not trying to do that. We're actually trying to drop the chest to the ground. You see how that, so do that again, Ben. So look at this, how far away my fingers are, then bring them together, and they brought them closer together. So it's this is the back, and now he's going like this. And this is the motion we need when we go overhead. Okay, good. Now do a few reps of that. Good, same thing. He's driving his hands and the ground away from him as he drops to the bottom. And again, as he drops to the bottom, he's really trying to pry his chest open and touch the ground with his chest. And staying long with the head, again, not cranking your neck. Don't crank your neck when it's unnecessary. Yeah, and if it's uncomfortable on your neck, you could even look down. Oftentimes, just that little subtle change can make a big, big difference. Boom, good job. Thank you, demo.
Perfect. The one thing I'd like to add to this is if you're doing it and you start to feel, let's say like discomfort in your shoulders because you're coming down here and you're trying to pry your chest open, and as you're prying it open, you're actually pushing super hard into the ground this way. Think more of being long. So I'm really long right here, and now I'm prying my chest without pressing it down.
Correct.
And that will take a lot of pressure off the potential shoulder joint.
Beautiful. So those are our favorite 3 exercises to get you more upright in this overhead squat. And normally if you work on like these tight muscles like lats or the upper back area in between the shoulder blades, it can clear up all of your shoulder issues, right? Because when you move the shoulder joint, the shoulder blade needs to push against this mid back. And if you are rounded and it can't extend, the shoulder blade can't come down like it needs to. It's like you doing this and trying to go arms overhead. Doesn't work and doesn't look very comfortable, right? But if you can extend through the mid back, my goodness, there's so much room here. So much room for activity. Right? So,
and lastly,
Clears up a lot of
for all
issues.
those big dudes, all those and gals out there that are pushing a lot of weight, and you're yoked and you got like some big old chesticles working in your favor, man, what's the point of being able to bench press a ton of weight if you can't reach a cup in your ceiling? You gotta get your significant other, hey, can you reach that up there? I had a tough chest day. So my challenge to you is make this a habit. Wake up, the first thing that you do in the morning, make your T-spine better, so that way not only do you look massive and are strong and powerful, but you actually are strong and powerful and not injured. Cool. That's all I gotta say about that.
that's beautiful. I feel like running through a wall for you right now.
Let's go. Let's try it.
I want to thank Dr. Donald, Dr. Ben again for joining me and actually educating us and showing us these different movements that we can actually go through. Guys, go ahead and share all your social media information with us, where they can contact you, how they can see you.
First off, thank you for having us. Thank you guys for listening to us. Yes. But you can just reach us at our Instagram is at Kinetic Impact. Just how it's spelled normally. Right? We have a lot of cool, short, educational videos on there. They're fun, easy to follow. And our YouTube is, again, at Kinetic Space Impact. There's extra space in there. On that, we have a channel that you guys can subscribe to. And then, what's our email?
info@kirehab.com. Ask us questions.
Yes, please ask us questions. This guy nails it every time. Ask us questions. We love it. Drop it in our DMs, our email, whatever it may be.
Inboxes.
Sweet.
Inboxes,
Okay.
yeah.
Thanks, guys. Again, stay tuned. We have some more series that are going to be coming up. I'm going to be working on a lot more with Dr. Donald and Dr. Ben as well. So stay tuned. Make sure you guys subscribe, like, all that good information too. Follow the Instagram, Facebook, everything that you guys got. Other than that, we'll see you guys again soon. See you guys.